Right, we are a couple of days away from the new season starting, and that calls for a video. So I'm joined by Harley, who runs Sadler's News. We're going to talk about everything pre-season and looking ahead to the season that's about to start, as well as taking some questions. So firstly, Harley, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I'm glad to be here.
So me and Harley have been chatting a bit recently, and we want to try and do a monthly roundup and video each month. So this is to sort of kickstart that off into a new series. So yeah, excited to get this started. It should be something that's going to be quite nice at the end of each month as we, stay in the top 3 for the entire season.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for this, and I think this is going to be good for the fans as well. It's going to be for those who can't make the games and they want a bit of an overview. These are going to, if we do these once a month, it's going to be quite a good way of looking at that month in retrospect and seeing how we did, and then we can look back at them even at the end of the season, and we can go month by month and see how we've progressed. And I think it's going to be quite informative, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, great. So let's kick things off with obviously the big thing of pre-season is a completely new squad, and a new feel and kind of a new Walsall. Do you feel it was needed? The most obvious question with the most obvious answer.
I don't know about that. No, of course it was. Of course it was. So if we're going back to last season at the very end, the way things had gone, it was absolutely needed. Brian Dutton couldn't stay. The team was in disarray. It didn't work. So it was absolutely this kind of new direction was needed. It was a bit of a surprise to everyone when it was Matt Taylor, the Pompey player, and not Matt Taylor, the Exeter manager. But no, it's a good direction we're going in, and we've got good players for it. So yeah, it's absolutely needed.
Yeah, I think the appointment of Taylor, I mean, it's obviously been an exciting one. People have taken to him very quickly. But it feels like one of the big differences between like the Clark Dutton era to now the Taylor era is that Taylor's admitted that they're not going to get it right all of the time, and that the mistakes will be made, and that he will make mistakes, the players will. But the one thing that will always be there is 100% commitment. And I can forgive a mistake if the entire team is giving it their all. And I don't know, that it kind of feels that the players he's brought in represent that. It seems like, especially the ones that we know from League Two, that they are a good, honest, hard-working group of players, which at times we haven't had in the last sort of 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a trial by fire, and it's a very interesting appointment because he has no experience managing professional football, and we're going to make mistakes. We are, and I'm glad he's admitting that now and getting it out of the way and saying, look, this isn't going to be perfect. We're not going to win. It's not going to be an invincible season. We might, if we're lucky, we're going to be in playoffs, but we have to just take it each game as it comes. And I like that. I like the honesty about it, and I like the direction we're going in, because I think it represents honesty and truth that this is Walsall Football Club. We're not massive. We're not guaranteed success, but we've got to try. We've always got to try. And that's how Walsall fans, that's all we expect, is just players to go out there and do their best. The manager to do his best. And I think that's what they're offering.
Yeah, I think looking back a little bit to last season, that's the reason that the players that have stayed have been the ones that fans wanted to stay or that already signed up. I mean, you look at the midfield and you look at the likes of Perry and Kinsella, and you go, they give it their all.
Yeah.
Every game, every time they put that shirt on, they give it their all. And I think the likes of, I mean, Stephen Ward has done that at every club he's been at. Yeah. Taylor is exactly the same. He just loves football and he wants to win. And then you look at like Labadie as well. They are the right type of players that they want to win. They've shown that throughout their careers. They're at an age where they're not the youngest, but they can help use that. And I think that they are, for me, it was when we look back to the Clark kind of signings that he wanted, the experienced ones, and you look at the experienced ones that we've got now, it's chalk and cheese. Like
Absolutely, yeah.
the squad, and I mean, there's a question about this later, but it feels like a team that is going to be competitive. And I don't mean that, they're going to be top three and going to be winning every week, but they're going to be in games. They're not going to get rolled over like easily. They're going to be in matches, in the mix for a good season.
Yeah, I think that was one of the criticisms that we have had over the last 4 or 5 years, that we do tend to roll over a little bit, and we've brought in players who, on the face of it, are good players, but they don't quite give their all. And at this level, you really just need to give it your all. You need to be committed. We tended to go missing in a lot of games for large parts, particularly under Brian Dutton and Darrell Clark. We'd spend the first 20, 30, even 40 minutes until we conceded, not really doing anything.
Yeah.
And that is something that is just unacceptable at this level. And bringing in these players, I can tell from the games in pre-season that they don't want that they're hungry and they want to win, and they're not going to let the opposition lead the game until they get a goal.
Yeah, I mean, I think One Pod Beyond summed it up well in their latest pod about, okay, we've played teams, all but one team have been higher up than us. I mean, we've done 2 Premier League teams, West Brom, who are, Premier League Championship, that in between, and then Cheltenham, who, they're League One now.
Yeah.
But the impressive thing was that playing Kidderminster, I mean, I know it's only Kidderminster, but when have we really battered a team in pre-season? And it was a point that they made on that. And I kind of stopped and thought, yeah, when was the last time that in pre-season we've put 5 goals past the team? Like it seems that no matter who they're playing or what's at stake, this team wants to win games.
Yeah, I was at the Kidderminster game in the away end, and for the first part of it, we looked a bit unsure of what we were doing, and then once we got a goal, we kind of kicked into gear, and the balls that were coming through, the strikers were ruthless. Wilkinson was ruthless. Osadibi got 2. Phillips, he got 1 as well, and it was a really tidy finish. And we really turned up in that second half, and we were playing some good attacking football. But more than anything, it was just the goals, because we rarely ever scored that amount of goals in any game. It just doesn't happen. I mean, you look at last season, other than Adebayo, we had Gordon and Lavery, who really, really struggled. And then you had Oseyor, who also really struggled. But they were never good strikers to begin with. Gordon was all right for about half a season before he got injured, but they came into the club and they were kind of okay. You look at the 2 main goal scorers we've got now, you'd say Wilkinson, 15 goals last season. He was ruthless against Kidderminster. Phillips is the same. He's an absolute handful. He's bagged goals for fun in the under-23s for Huddersfield. That's the main difference, I think, especially in the attack. He's having strikers who are going to put the ball in the net, and that goals win games. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. I'm actually going to jump into one question earlier than planned about that. Obviously, the squad numbers were released today, and there is a distinct lack of a number 11.
Yeah.
I personally feel that we need another striker, and I feel that it's a general consensus amongst the fans. Yesterday in the Q&A, which if you haven't seen it yet, do. It's on YouTube. It was really insightful, and it also, you understand why people take to Matt Taylor, how the players take to him. If you haven't watched it, do. It's fantastic. They said there that Fullerton was going to meet with a player today who's highly sought after, a young player. Do you think that we only need one more player in the attack? That number 11, that's sort of the missing gap in the squad numbers, or do you think we still need 2 more in the attacking areas?
I think at least two more, to be quite honest, because if you look at the attack we've got at the moment, we've got Phillips, Wilkinson, and Kiernan. That's
Yeah.
three attackers.
And Shade as well now.
So yeah, we've got Shade now as well, who's he's a striker, but he can also play left wing and right wing. So who really knows where he's going to play? But there isn't a lot of depth there, really. And it says a lot that the number 11 has been left. That means that there's a striker coming in. For me, at least, that means there's a striker coming in.
Yeah.
And I'd expect another loan in. Personally, I would probably give a contract to Alassani. I'd offer him one because I thought he was quite good in pre-season, and he seems like a decent option. He was fairly decent offensively. He also tracked back, so I'd give him one. But we need another winger, and we definitely need another striker, and we need another striker of some caliber, which is what I think that person Fullerton is speaking to is.
Yeah, I would, with Wilkinson being our really most senior attacking player, I do think that someone else needs to come in alongside him. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like youth and energy, but Wilkinson has energy, but he's got a few years' experience in him. Yeah, on the Q&A, I mean, Harley hasn't had a chance to watch it yet, so I'm not going to do too many spoilers. But it seemed as though Pomlet and Taylor have a really good relationship, and that with Fullerton there, the praise of Fullerton is the highest regard from anyone who speaks about him. And I think the overriding thing for me from yesterday was, okay, I'm not going to pretend that I know a lot of the players that we've brought in, or that I know them enough to go, this is how they're going to play. But I completely trust that Fullerton and Taylor together and Neil McDonald won't have just brought in numbers for the sake of bringing in numbers. I do feel that this team has been well researched and put together.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they said something about Shade. It took 6 weeks to get the deal done, and you think,
really?
he's a piece of the puzzle that they've been after for a while. And it wouldn't surprise me that if this player that they're talking to, this number 11, is already in the mindset. It's not that they're now going, we need another striker. And I think everything seems to be thought out more this year.
Yeah, it does. And I think there seems to be a clear kind of idea as to what players they want.
Yeah.
You're looking at the types of, we've brought in some big, strong centre halves. We've brought in experience. I think experience is a big part of this team. I think this team is built to go up. If you look at Darryl Clark, he kind of built his team. He was quite young. He was trying to plan for 2, 3, 4 seasons at the club and trying to progress that team. This team looks like it's built to win, which I really like. You look at Stephen Ward, experience, Ash Taylor, experience, Monty, experience. So I really like that. And I think that's that kind of ideology and philosophy. You can tell that they've been thought out. And Matt Taylor said himself that he's been asking for players, and Fullerton and Pomlet have just gone and got them.
Yeah.
They've spoken to Taylor. He's told them their vision, and they've agreed to join. There
Yeah,
seems
that
to
was-
be that good feeling around the club.
Yeah, that was another thing that I was really impressed with, that Fullerton and Taylor drew up a list of, from a left back, we want these characteristics.
Yeah.
From our number 6, we want these characteristics. And they drew up like almost before they even looked at players, like, hey, what do we want from each role?
Yeah.
Then started to look at the market, look at who they could get, and go from there. And I think that was just such a I don't know whether that's the way that the club do it normally, but it's the process that they're working to. I mean, the example that I could think of where you go, no, was when Oztumo went to Bolton.
Yeah.
He did not fit that squad, even though he's a good player. And that's what I think Taylor and Fullerton have done. They've not just gone, this player's a good player, we'll bring him in. They've gone, this person is a good player who fits how we want to play.
Yeah.
And it's about fitting the identity and the characteristics that Taylor's wants, rather than just going, oh yeah, they're a good player, let's get them in.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of difference. Going back to Darrell Clarke again, you look at the players he brought in his initial season. You have Sinclair, you have James Clark, you have Rory Gaffney. They're all players that he worked with. He didn't bring them in because he had a vision and because he wanted players that fit his system. He brought them in because he knew them. He knew what they were capable of, and he liked them, and he had a good relationship with them. But they didn't necessarily fit his system, which was a big issue. This seems more like the only players that we've had contact with through Fullerton or Taylor have been Rushworth and Earring, who are at Halifax. And they're not brought in just because they're good players. They're brought in because they're good young players who fit a system.
Yeah, and Rushworth especially has kind of fans are. Yeah. He's a very good signing, and like really you said, it's not just because I know you. It's you're highly sought after, and you are a good player. And yeah, right, we're only going to have you a season on loan. I've no doubt that actually the loanees that we've got have been signed going, you've got one season, because they're going to go on to bigger and better things. Yeah. And I don't mind that. I'd rather that than, oh, you don't really play for a club, so come and get some game time here. I'd rather us be utilising the loan market for, good young players that need a good season under their belt before they go and get a move to the Championship or the top of League One or something like that. Right, anyway, before we take questions, final kind of pre-season topic is, what do you think of Matt Taylor?
I like Matt Taylor. I think he's a really likeable bloke. I think he's brought with him a vision and a philosophy, which I really like. I love to hear that from a manager when they tell me they've got good ideas, they know what they want from players. He's brought in the players that he wants, and it's been a bit of a kind of interesting one in pre-season. We've run a few different formations, a few different lineups, and it's hard to know really how we're going to play, but we tend to play with aggression and we're playing with intensity, which is lovely to see. And I think he's been speaking to his players. He's very vocal during games, which I really like. And he, especially against Kidderminster, was one of the turning points for me because we were pretty poor in the first 30 minutes. We just kept giving it to the centre half, hoofing it upfield to their tall centre halves, and it just wasn't working. And then he had a word with them in the drinks break, and they kind of came out with a bit more of an idea of what they were doing. They started playing through the middle, giving the ball to Labadie, and things started to happen. So I can tell that he can analyse a game and see what needs to be done and fix it. And he doesn't want them to just go route one. He wants them to play through the middle and utilise the wide areas as well and kind of keep the ball on the floor, which I really like. And I think it looks like a good style of football and it's good to watch.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, he seems to be able to, like you said, analyse a game and almost react to it accordingly, which a manager should do.
Yeah.
But he's what he lacks in management, he makes up for in playing experience. And I think that's what we've got with him. We've got an unproven manager, or I'd say manager, head coach, whatever the kind of the title is. But as a coach, he wouldn't have been in the Spurs setup if he wasn't good. And he's also got Neil McDonald there who can just bring that bit of experience to him and go, right, what about this? What about that? Yeah. And I really like Taylor. I think he has a way of talking that people listen, people tune in. He's the Q&A, he was talking at times for 5 minutes and you're just engrossed. And if he has that effect on the players, then they are going to listen, and his plan is going to be kind of exercised on the pitch. I'm excited. I think he's shown a lot of maturity by going, I'm going to be relying on these people to help out. I'm going to be relying on Fullerton. I'm going to be relying on McDonald, Sadler as well, to kind of give his opinion. And that's what it should be. They're all part of the team.
Yeah, he seems very intelligent when it
Yeah,
comes to football. Brian Dutton and Darrell Clark, after a match, they tended more to say we weren't good enough or we were great, but they tended to stick to kind of footballing terms and not very analytical.
yeah,
Whereas Matt Taylor, he tells you what he didn't like about that game and what he did like.
yeah,
He doesn't just use strong phrases. He speaks to you, and it's like he's speaking to you and having a conversation when they're doing the interviews, and it's quite interesting to see because that's clearly how his brain works. That he's very analytical and he
yeah,
can see what's going on the pitch, and I think that's where he's a lot of his experience is helping him because he can identify what every single player is doing, how they're moving,
yeah,
and he's using that and he's talking about that.
yeah, yeah. Right. So keeping on the Matt Taylor topic, we've got our first question from Lee Reynolds. Um, So after yesterday's Q&A, the open training session, the video updates, are we in a better position than 2 years ago when Darrell Clark landed in Walsall? Taylor talks with passion and pride, not arrogant and more informative about player injuries. We seem to be a football club ready to grow. Yeah, completely agree with that. I think we are in a better position than 2 years ago. I think when Clark came in, he was the personality and the kind of character that we needed to lift us
Yeah,
back up. But then it all got a bit sour. But I think we're all remaining optimistic here, but we know we've been in this position before. Um, for me, I feel that we've learned a lot from 2 years ago, and we can see the quality of player
yeah,
that's coming. We can see what's happening, what's working, and it does feel like we're in a better position. And I also feel that once the novelty of Darrell Clark's personality wore off, he rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way.
he did. Yeah, yeah.
And I don't see that with Taylor. He's a proven player who appreciates the fans, and that's why he's honest with them.
Yeah, if you'd have asked me 2 months ago if we were in a better position, I probably would have said not really. We're in the same position
Yeah,
because we've had a bit of a mass exodus. We've come off a bad season. It's a new process. Asking me now, I'd say absolutely, because the difference is that with 90% of the signings we've made, the majority of fans have gone, yeah, I understand that and I really like that. With Darrell Clark, it was very kind of hit and miss, which is what Bristol Rovers said to us at the time. They said a lot of his signings are hit and miss,
yeah,
and that's how it kind of felt. Some were good, some were bad, and it was a bit of a mishmash. So, and then he was very secretive. It's kind of a hard way of explaining it, but he didn't kind of tell the fans a lot about what was going on. He didn't want other clubs to know what was going on, and that didn't help. That started
yeah,
to rub people the wrong way. Matt Taylor isn't like that. He tells people what's going on with the club, what's going on with the players. He tells us about injuries when they're due back, and I like that. Contract lengths, another thing. We actually know contract lengths now,
yeah,
which is good. So yeah, absolutely. I think we're in a better position because the man at the top, not the very top, but the managerial top, Matt Taylor, he's just a better, more positive person in that sense that he's doing what he wants and he's filling people with confidence. And that's the
yeah,
main thing. Everyone was a bit kind of like, I don't know about Darrell Clark. He's a good manager, but the players he's brought in are aging or unproven. So, yeah, I think we're in a better position.
So keeping again on the Taylor topic, Luke Jones, do you think Pomlet is putting a lot of pressure on Taylor to succeed? By the way he speaks and what he says, I think he is. I'll let you start on this one.
He has to. He has ambitions of going to the championship. We're not a
Yeah,
big club, so that's going to be very, very difficult. It's not unrealistic, it's not impossible, but it's just hard. So any manager who comes in is going to come under scrutiny straight away. That's just how it works in football. And if you want to get big results, that's how it works. So there is pressure on him right now. There's not too much pressure on him because we haven't even started the season. He's got the players he wants. Pomlet has backed him, so there is also that added pressure.
Yeah.
It's more how it depends. The amount of pressure is going to depend on how he kind of starts the season. If we start badly, which we could well do because it's a new squad, the pressure is going to mount, but he's going to be given time. And I genuinely believe he's going to be given time to put his plan into action. So I think there is pressure. There is a lot of pressure, and there would be on any manager. But Pomlet is a fair man, and he will give Taylor the chance to do what he wants and sort it out. I think a lot of it will fall on Fullerton if it doesn't work out. So I think there's equal amounts of pressure on him as well to get it right.
Yeah, I think Pomlet took over 2 years ago, and this is going to sound really, really harsh, but under his kind of leadership, we've ended 12th and 19th. And there's no escaping that. There's no kind of way around it. We haven't had a great time under him on the pitch, but I feel that obviously there's a lot that's been involved in that with COVID and everything. I think there's pressure on Pomlet from himself because he knows that he has to get these things right to see some sort of growth. But yeah, I think, like you said, I think he mentioned about the aim of promotion and that he's given them a time frame. I don't for one second think Taylor has got to get promoted this season.
No.
I would assume it's next season.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But, let's see what happens. Right, we're going to do a couple more quick fire questions. James Skitt, which young player do you think could potentially break into the starting team?
It's a tricky one this season. I don't think we're going to see as many use as we did last season, but Ronan Mayer came on for the kind of last 10, 15 minutes against Palace, and I was really impressed with him. He's a central midfielder. The way he took in the ball and distributed it and went past a few players, I was really impressed with. So I'd like to see him break into I don't know if the starting 11 is really feasible, but the starting lineup for the team, so like on the bench and then maybe gets a game here or there, I think that's very possible for him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see many debutants from the youth. I feel that the youngsters that were kind of blooded last season will continue that.
Yeah.
I would expect, I'm just going to have a look quickly at who they're giving the shirt numbers to because I cannot for the life of me remember.
I think we could see a few appearances from Danny Coogan.
Yeah, I was thinking Coogan's one that I would go. I think he's done enough. I would expect to see obviously Perry playing.
Yeah.
Because he broke in. I would expect to see Leak continuing to get more game time. And I'd like to see more of Willis and Folkes. But if they aren't played and we're playing well, then I get it.
Yeah, so Folkes is at Kidderminster, isn't he, at the moment? I think
of course he is.
He's there till February, I think. And I was quite impressed with him against Kidderminster. I thought he did a good job. So I think the idea there is to see how he gets on in that league. Yeah. And if he kills it, he'll come back to us and he'll get some game time here and there. And if he doesn't, if he just does all right, he can just stay at Kidderminster the rest of the season, get some experience, get some game time.
It's interesting that I say interesting he's been given a squad number, but he's not with us at the moment. But yeah, they've given him a squad number. So I think, like you said, there's the hope there that if he does well, he's coming back into the team, into the squad, or going to be there or thereabouts. That's my thought on it. I just feel that the younger players that played last season will continue that. And I think out of all the younger players, I think Coogan's the one that will potentially see more of.
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with we threw all the young players in at the deep end last season just to see
Yeah,
what stuck, and obviously Perry and Leake did.
yeah,
So they were the two kind of prospects we had. And this season, like I said, we're building a squad that's going for promotion ideally.
yeah,
That's why there's experience in almost every position. So it kind of makes it more difficult to bring
yeah,
someone through. I think that's kind of the issue. So not that we won't see anyone, but it's just not going to be as much as it was.
yeah. And then finally, from questions from the followers, which new player has excited us the most? And that's from George Hunt.
I'm a big fan of Manny Monthi. I really like him. I like what he brings. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he's fast. So he exciting. Usually think of attacker. So you
Yeah,
could say Wilkinson, you could say Kiernan, but for me, Manny Monti, I think he's going to be my guy. I think he's going to do a really good job, and I really like the look of him.
I'm gonna counter that with an Ash Taylor.
Oh right, okay.
I put this in my preseason prediction piece yesterday, that I feel that he he could be a contender for player of the season
Yeah,
if he does what he does well, because we desperately lack a real leader of a centre
yeah,
back, a real like Andy Butler type of player
mhm,
who body on the line, 110% commitment. We had that at times, but if him and Mont form a partnership where they are keeping goals out, I don't see why we couldn't look to centre backs to be player of the
right.
season or an exciting player. Um, Going forward, I'd say in terms of exciting, I think Phillips over
Yeah,
Wilkinson, because we know more of Wilkinson. Um, because we've seen him for a couple of seasons in League Two, where Phillips is a little bit of an unknown.
yeah.
So I'd be quite excited for him. Right, finally, what is your 11 to start at the weekend?
So I go with Rushworth in goal,
Whoa.
right back Hayden White because he has really impressed me, particularly in the Palace game. He kept Zaha quiet for large periods of that game. I feel like centre halves, you've got to go with Monty and Taylor. Although I really like Meniasse, I think those two will start.
Yeah,
Left back, Stephen Ward's position. It just is. No one else is going to have that. I'm guessing it's going to be some variation on a 4-3-3. So that's how I'm going to structure it. So it's probably going to be a 4-2-3-1. But I would have a double pivot of Kinsella and Lavady because
yeah,
I like how they work together. Osadibi's really impressed me, so he'd be the number 10. Then on the left, for now, I'm saying Kiernan. I think that's his position. On the right, I'd give it Wilkinson. I think he is better on the right. And then because we haven't heard who this player Fullerton is
yeah,
talking to is, I'd say it's Phillips is the striker for now. Because obviously at the time of recording we just don't know.
yeah,
But so hopefully we could have another striker in, we could sign someone incredible, but for now that would be my kind of team that I think we should start with and we probably will start with.
yeah. I'd go Rose and goal. I think, yeah, I think Rose and goal. I'd keep the exact same back four. I think the
Yeah,
same. I'd keep the same formation. I'd go Kinsella and Labadie because I think that is a tough midfield to break down.
yeah,
Um, like I said, going forward, it's difficult. Obviously, with no Holden, it means that I think Osadibi has to play
yeah, he
kind
has
of that
to.
number 10 role. Um, and then I don't know not a lot about Shade, but I'm tempted to go with, just to be different, Shade and Kiernan on the wings with Wilkinson up top. But
Interesting.
I don't see it being a bad thing having Phillips up top and Wilkinson out on the right.
No, I think
Quite nice.
Wilkinson pretty much exclusively played on the right for Orient. So that's kind of where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
because I didn't like Phillips on the right wing against Kidderman, so I don't think it utilised him very well.
No,
'Cause he's
I
not
wouldn't
really
have
a
Phillips
winger.
on the wing. I'd have
Yeah.
Shade or Wilkinson or Kiernan.
Yeah, so I think I'd prefer Wilkinson out to the right. If I'd either have him as a right winger or a right striker in a two, because he likes to come in on his left and he's got a really great left foot. So I
Yeah.
think that's why I'm favouring him to the right wing right now.
Cool. Right. Well, I'm going to make the prediction that we're going to finish 10th for the season. What about yourself?
I've already called it a couple of weeks ago, so I've got to stick by that, and I'm saying 6th. I'm being an optimist, and I
Amazing.
think we could do it.
Right. Well, look, thank you for coming on.
Of course.
And we will see you all soon at Fortress Bescott, as it hopefully will be known as. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for coming on, and we will see you soon.
Take care, guys.